was a photograph of Cade Ballard in Carnival, and it was photographed by our next guest. I happen to be an amateur photographer. Therefore, for me, this man is a very meaningful guest and a very important guest. He is
meaningful to many, many
one of the very great photographers of our time, a man who has recorded history with his camera and recorded it in a very special way, a very brilliant and beautiful way. I'd like you to welcome Mr. Philippe Halsman to AM New York. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Halsman. How did you get up so early, Mr.? The photographers get up early as a rule?
Absolutely not. I'm still half asleep.
But you live close by. It wasn't too bad.
Yes, it was only 1 block.
You are most identified, I guess, for the average individual with Life magazine. I would think that's your greatest
Yes, I was never in contract to Life magazine, but I have made 101 covers for them.
101 covers for Life.
Which is a record.
Yeah, yeah. How often would you do a cover for them? I mean, what
as often as possible.
How did it work out in time? I mean, was it every couple of months or?
Yes, about.
Over a period of how long?
Over a period of about 20 years.
20 years. When Life folded, how did you feel about that?
I felt as if I had lost a good friend.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. The thing that I want to ask you about, we're going to show some film that Paul Brownstein put together here of, I think, a montage of some of the covers.
Yes, from my latest book.
Yes.
Sight and Insight.
Yes, good. And then I want to talk a little bit about the historical perspective that you must have gotten dealing with all these the world's most famous and in many cases the world's most important people. Can we show the film? Okay, we'll show the film, and then as soon as we get back, we'll talk to Mr. Halsman about some of these great photographic experiences. Here it is coming up. You'll be able to see it on this monitor. Halsman.
Hooray, hooray, hooray.
That was Mr. Halsman, the last photograph. Did you shoot that yourself?
Yes, it was a self-portrait.
How do you do that?
You set it up and then ask your assistant to click the camera.
Was there a special reason for shooting that picture?
Yes, absolutely. My head is on a tripod. And I wanted to give the idea that more important than any camera you have is the head of the photographer.
Oh, that's so true. So true. A lot of people carry cameras around.
They carry also their heads, but they don't use them.
This is an incredible book. The photographs that you just saw are in the book. It's Halsman's Sight and Sound. The photographs are beautifully printed in here, by the way. The reproduction is marvelous.
Yes, it was done in Italy under my supervision.
Yes, beautifully done. And it's...
Doubleday? Is that?
Yes, it is
Doubleday,
Doubleday, yes.
thank you.
Halsman's Sight and Insight. And the insight is the key word, I think. It's a matter of what you're looking for and what you hope to find in a photograph. When you go to a session with a particular individual, do you have a particular idea of what it is you'd like to see in that person?
Very often I have. Sometimes I discover it during the sitting.
Are you surprised at times?
Very much so. And sometimes I change my mind about the person during the sitting.
Mm-hmm.
It is a kind of an exploration
Yeah.
where the accident plays quite an important part.
Yeah. The photograph of Richard Nixon in his shirt sleeves, was that an accident?
No, it was not, because I wanted to show the new Nixon. And the editors told me, ask him to pose in shirt sleeves. And when I asked him to take off his jacket, he said, take off my jacket? I've never been without a jacket. But then I said, you know, but the new brand of the successful candidates all have this tousled, shirt-sleeved look. And Nixon took off his jacket. He became a completely different person. He played for me on the piano. And this is the picture.
How did he get to the piano? Did you ask him to play?
No, I didn't. He wanted to show it to me that he could play the piano. There was a piano. And he played with considerable schmaltz.
Well, I'm glad he does something.
This is really an incredible photograph because it's almost a shock to the eye because we so rarely see him this way. It's an entirely different man than that which has been presented to us for so many years. Tell me about the Einstein photograph. There's so much in that face in that photograph. What was that session all about?
Well, Einstein helped me to come to this country through his insistence. I was put on the list of the people that were saved from the south of France. And I went to visit him, and eventually I asked him to pose for me. He retired into his study and started to write his formulas. And I photographed him, and then he started to talk about his fear that the atom bomb would be used again.
And the fact that he had been involved in developing...
He felt very guilty about the things that happened in Hiroshima.
Yeah.
And while he was talking about it and looked at me with big, sad eyes, I took the picture.
Mm-hmm. Are you very often moved by subjects? That must have been a very moving experience.
It was such a moving experience that I almost forgot to release the camera.
To do the job, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have that often? Do you experience it that often?
Not very often, no. Fortunately for
With
me.
Winston Churchill you did, I'll bet, Philip.
No, I didn't, because Churchill was a very strong personality, and he was actually more or less aloof, whereas Einstein was a very warm and human being. Churchill played even cat and mouse with me.
Mm-hmm.
When we went out, he didn't let me photograph him from the face, and he avoided my camera. And so eventually, when he sat on the rock, I photographed his back.
The back of him, yeah.
Which I thought
Yes.
was very expressive.
Why did he do that? Why was he in that attitude?
I think he was simply playful.
That
He wanted-
particular time, that day?
This particular time, he wanted to play a joke on the photographer.
Uh-huh.
But I played a joke on him because this back became probably my most famous picture of Churchill.
And it's so obvious who it is.
Yes.
It's unmistakable. It's
Yes, he is one of the very few people who has an unmistakable back.
Who is this? Oh, that's the
This
Maharishi.
is Maharishi.
Yes.
And I used the zoom lens on him and zoomed in, and he has a halo around him, which symbolizes the expansion, his expanding consciousness.
Was that something that you brought to the picture, or did you sense something in him that made you see him that way?
No, I didn't feel any expanding consciousness in Maharishi.
I see. I think you did him a favor then.
You know, he was always accompanied by two public relation men.
Oh, really?
And one person was very much upset about it, and he said, listen, he said, you are a religious leader. Why do you need public relation men? Jesus Christ didn't have them. So the Maharishi meditated for a moment and said, but look what happened to him.
Very practical. Very practical. What about Sammy Davis Jr.? The photograph of him is half hidden behind a wall, and your story about it in the book is interesting. Why did you do that? His face is half hidden behind a brick wall.
This picture had to be used on the jacket of his book, Yes, I Can, in which he tells his autobiography and how much difficulties he encountered. It was like going through a brick wall. So my picture is actually more or less the interpretation of this thought, going through a brick wall, and it has also the great advantage that his blind eye, the glass eye, is covered by the wall.
It's a very insightful picture. It says something about Davis that very few pictures of him say. As a rule, you see the performer, the entertainer.
And I think half of Sammy Davis is completely sufficient.
That comment is in the book. It's very funny. All of Sammy Davis is too much. That's great. What feeling do you have about your life, having worked with and dealt with all of these phenomenally famous people, all the superstars of show business, all the greatest politicians, the greatest statesmen, some of the worst politicians, I'm sure. What is your feeling in general about the patterns that you've seen through the years?
I think I had a very interesting life, and it continues to be interesting, because I have photographed the most famous men and the most beautiful women of our century. I didn't photograph through all the century, but for about 35 years.
Yeah. How did you start in photography? What was your beginning?
My beginning can be described best by the words which George Bernard Shaw used to describe how a girl of a good family falls into prostitution. First you do it to please yourself, which I did. Then you do it to please your friends, which I did too, and eventually you do it for money.
Great. Okay, who is this photograph of? Is that Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood.
Yes.
This is a picture that I shot only last week. No, last month, I mean. It is Clint Eastwood, whom I photographed in Hollywood for his new, it will be a poster for his new movie, Magnum Force.
Did you photograph him here in New York?
No, I had to go to Hollywood.
You still do a lot of traveling to photograph people?
Yes, I do quite a lot of traveling.
But you do have a studio here in New York?
I have, yes.
What are you looking forward to doing next?
As a matter of fact, I don't know, because never planned my life. Things just happened to me.
The Jump book, let's talk about that briefly. The book is called the Jump book.
The Jump book, yes.
The Jump book, that's what it's called.
Yes.
And here's a photograph of, I can't see the head. Oh, that's Richard Nixon.
Is Richard Nixon
yes.
jumping for
yes.
me. At one time of my career, I asked everybody in my photograph to jump for me.
And this was a book. Have you ever seen this?
Close this
It's really fascinating. The book is a collection of famous people jumping. Mr. Halsman, during his sessions with them, asked them to do a jump for his jump book. And it's an incredible collection. And you had developed an idea about the psychology of that is revealed in the jump.
Yes, because we all wear masks. But if you ask a grown-up person to jump, it is such an unusual request that the mask falls. And the jump usually reveals the character of the person. Now this jump by...
Can we see that jump again? Is it gone?
This jump by President Nixon, who was at that time vice president, doesn't reveal too much. It is a kind of a non-committal jump.
But he did jump.
He did jump, yes. Very few people refused.
Who refused? Well, wait, before we get into that, why do you say this is a non-committal jump? What does that mean? What do you see that tells you that it's non-committal?
I asked him to jump, and I think he jumped just to please me. It was not that he put himself absolutely into it.
He wasn't experiencing it himself.
No, he made a kind of a small jump for the photographer who was obviously crazy,
Who made a big jump?
or most of the people.
Do we
For
have some other
instance,
jump
Governor
pictures of all?
Dewey,
No, that's the only one?
Stevenson, the Duke and Duchess of Windsor jumped with great abandon
Yeah.
and with very little rhythm.
Yeah, they were out of sync, I noticed in the shot of them. One
They
is
were
up
always
while the other's down.
yes, they were always out of sync.
One of your most famous jump pictures must be the one of Marilyn Monroe.
Yes, it is being used as a cover. It has been used as a cover. It has been used as a poster and so on.
Yeah, that's the one with her fist clenched and her
Yes,
feet are
it's
tucked
very
up under her.
interesting.
And her head is straight up in a kind of
Yes.
ecstatic look.
Yes. She projects ecstasy, but the hands, the cramped hands indicate how tense she is actually and how much she works on projecting something that she doesn't actually feel.
And the feet tucked up under her.
It's the childishness of her. Because actually she was not a love goddess, she was a kind of a woman, child woman, and inside a frightened human being.
It's fascinating. Did you see pictures of somebody jumping that gave you the idea that they were revealing character? Or how did that begin?
I photographed a dozen of NBC comedians, and I asked them also to do all kinds of things. And one of the things that I asked them to do was to jump. And when I laid the jumps together, I realized suddenly, it came to me, that every one of them has jumped in character. And then I wanted to see whether everybody would jump in character who is not a comedian. And I started to write a book that I call Jumpology,
I love that.
the science of interpretation of jumps.
Did people
which
surprise you as a rule with their jumping, or could you anticipate what kind of jump they would do?
Usually I could anticipate. For instance, when I photographed, when I was on Barry Gray's show, he said, all right, can you describe my jump before I jump? And after he promised me to jump his own way, I described his jump, and it was exactly the way I described it.
Based on what you knew about him as a person?
About him, yes.
That's incredible. I could save a psychiatrist a lot of time.
That's
Mr.
exactly
Halsman.
what I mean.
Yeah, there's so much revealed in that just simple physical move. For me, it's been a great pleasure, and we want to thank you very, very much. The book, again, I want to tell you about this because it really is a gorgeous piece of work, and it's a wonderful thing to have.
I'm going to
Halsman, Sight and Insight, published by Doubleday. Look it up because it's really something very, very well worth having and will be worth having for a long time to come. Mr. Philippe Halsman,
Well, Leonard, thank you very much to you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, a pleasure. And we're going to go to a commercial and then the Eyewitness News.